What's up, everyone? Welcome to Artists in the City, where you meet the newest and hottest artist.
New and hot?
Yes,
Oh my.
in South Korea and also in Busan. We have Ahnu,
Yes.
who is formerly known as artist Haeyeon.
Yes.
And welcome, Ahnu.
Hi.
Welcome
Hello,
to the podcast.
everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, we're sitting in this beautiful room. It's lit beautifully.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have you here. You're a great actor, writer, and a budding comedian.
It's an honor. Oh, that
진짜
seems a
너무
little bit much.
was I like being like was it fake? That was my
No.
it was my true self.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Anyways, could you introduce yourself
Yes.
to the listeners? Please?
So my name is Ahnu. In Korean, it's short for 아저씨, which means an old man, and 누나, big sister. So that's kind of my way of expressing my gender queerness. So Ahnu, that's what I go by. But yeah, I lived in New York for about 15 years before coming back to Busan 2 years ago. And yeah, I was writing, acting, running around, clowning around in New York while I was there. And I used my name Haeyeon Park while I was there.
Why did you start using your new name as Anu?
Yeah, when did that happen? I think when I started learning about gender queerness and non-binary, I did start going by she and they pronouns, but it never quite like felt lived in because I guess I am bilingual, but my first language is Korean. I think a good way to figure out which language is your mother tongue is when I touch something hot, I go, 뜨거! I can't help it. I never say.
What the fuck does that mean?
So something, even when I
Like,
feel
so when
like
you when you do that, you
when I
feel
touch
woman?
something, no. Oh, this is with the language. So when I feel 모국어, so when I touch
your
something
mother
hot,
language.
I never say oh I say 뜨거. So Korean is my mother tongue, mother language. So instead the they she pronouns didn't quite feel like it was expressing my gender queerness. But then I don't know how, but it was one day, maybe a little before the pandemic, like, oh, I am both 아저씨 and 누나. And then for me that felt like, oh, that's my pronoun in a way. So I started to use, I told my friends that I wanted to start going by Ahnu. So even in New York, towards the end of my stay there, my friends called me by Ahnu.
It's such a cute name.
Yeah.
Anu. It fits you really well.
It sounds like it could be the name of a chocolate bar or a soap bar or,
Soap bar.
yeah,
Or like name of a plant.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very like soft and like 뭐지? Gender neutral?
Yeah.
No way.
Sort of, yeah.
What do you mean by being gender queer though?
Gender queer, I never quite felt like I was like just a woman. And I think it goes way back. My mom still talks about how she really desperately wanted me to play with Barbie dolls. And because that was her fantasy of having a daughter, but I just refused to play with them. She used to try to barter with me to have me wear dresses. I'll buy you sushi after church. Wear this fucking dress. And yeah, so that kind of went on. And I came into my queerness pretty late in life, in my 30s. And then I don't like feel like I'm a man either. So when I learned about non-binariness and how it's not, how gender doesn't have to be a binary, it felt like, oh, it felt like until then I had this like belt buckled up around me, and then finally it was released. Oh, okay. So that doesn't mean that I'm messed up just because I'm not fitting into either this or that. So for me, 아저씨 누나 like captures that.
Yeah.
So even when I don't explain the meaning of the name, when somebody calls me by Ahnu, I felt a little bit seen. Yeah.
I feel like you're like the only gender queer person in Busan. Almost.
Well, at Hongyeodang, which
Actually,
is
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, but I think, like you were born with your name Minji, right? Did you ever go by a different name?
No. No, nothing really. Oh, Lady Manga.
Oh, that's right. Minji's new.
My new rap character, Lady Manga.
Alter ego.
But like, I wouldn't really be so I'm not that attached to the name just yet because it has been only a minute since I started.
If something else comes along that really like fastens you, would you change it for the character?
My name?
For the rapper character.
Oh, I love being Lady Manga though. I don't think any name would top it.
Yeah, LM.
Whether it be in Korean lady manga or in English, it just makes sense. I like it.
Yeah. I used to, so I was always born with the name Haeyeon, but so I grew up moving back and forth between Korea and the U.S. So when I first enrolled in this Jewish preschool in Maryland at the age of 4, my parents gave me this name Tracy. So in my childhood, whenever I was in America, I went by Tracy. I was Tracy Park.
It's cute.
Even up until my first several years in New York. So when I was in acting school, my friends called me it was Tracy. But then I'm bringing this to like the power of renaming ourselves, because we're given our names from our parents most of the time. But I think it's really powerful to be able to do that. Yeah. So one day, I was still going by Tracy. I had a dream one night. This was in 2012. No, 2011. In my dream, at the time I had long hair, long wavy hair. And I was like in a group of people around a bonfire. In the dream, I chopped my hair off and I burned it in the fire. And then I woke up in the morning and I thought, I'm no longer Tracy.
Wow.
So from then, I had to train. Bless up my friends. They had to like adjust to my different names, but they had to get used to calling me Tracy to Haeyeon.
And so, now from Haeyeon to
Ahnu. But I still don't mind being called by. It's not like a dead name or anything. But it felt good to like, okay, this is actually my given name in my papers. And it came along with like kind of the immigrant experience of like people never knowing how to exactly pronounce my name, Haeyeon, the way it is. So until that point, I never felt comfortable enough doing all that explaining. Like, it sounds like that, but it's actually pronounced like this. But then after I had that dream and around that time, it's like, oh, I want to reclaim it.
Yeah. I tried this name, Lindsay.
At first glance, you are very Lindsay, but not at all.
I'm not Lindsay at all, but I just thought that Lindsay's pronounces similar to Minji.
Okay. Yeah.
That was like the whole, and also Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like in my teenage years, she was just like the queen.
Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah I know that's like doesn't make any sense.
But I think it's fun to play around with that, and I think as artists we have more of an opportunity to do that. Because if somebody who like works as an insurance worker one day goes to their friends like, you're gonna call, I'm gonna go by a different name from today, they might not, the friends might be like, what are you talking about?
I wonder, that's kind of a very specific thing for actors, because as an actor you got to play different characters.
Yeah.
I also realized that you're the first actor to be on the podcast.
Oh, wow. What an honor.
Yeah.
What an honor. I love the name of the podcast, Artists in the City.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, yeah, my first entry into New York was acting. So I went to this school called Michael Howard Studios. It was this little acting studio in Chelsea. This old guy, Michael Howard, he was already in his 80s then. He wasn't teaching much at that time, but he was an acting teacher for decades. So yeah, that's where I met all of my mentors there. But yeah, that was my first 친정집 in New York. Yeah. And I fell in love with acting then.
What do you like so much about acting? What do you love about it?
I first thought that I was going to become this very dramatic actor. And my love for acting started in the theater. And also I never thought that I was funny. So, I could never be a comedic actor. I was always like Chekhov and Shakespearean. Those were my aspirations. I loved hearing voices of actors resonating. And I think what I love about the type of acting that I'm attracted to is when it's so raw. Like you can't tell this is acting. So very like anti-acting acting is where I like to like be in. And the training that I got, it wasn't actually, I don't know how helpful it was for like booking roles and auditioning, but the teachers, one of my teachers named Deborah Campmeyer, she's a brilliant filmmaker. She directs a lot of TV right now in Hollywood. And the world that she introduced her students to, it was all about just witnessing like true, real moments. And where it would, even if it is for playing a character in a play, it was about how much of ourselves we can bring to it. So I just like, oh, this is what it is. It felt like church. And I think some of the actors out there might agree, a lot of acting classes and performance art worlds can feel a little cultish. And I was very like well aware of it. But I don't know, do you feel that way about the visual arts too? For comedy too?
Yes.
Cultish.
Yeah.
So I don't know, as long as we have an awareness of it, I never felt worried.
Wait, do you mean by cultish as in cliquey?
More about like
really worshiping
this
something?
teacher, yes, oh my god, this is the only way, and we love this teacher, this master guru teacher, and
definitely
like, dedicating your whole life to that work.
Definitely the same for Korean comedy scene. Daenicho. I do think comedy is very cliquey.
Cliquey and cultish is a little different.
But it's very different. It's a little bit different. But for Korean comedies, it's cultish. Visual art, I mean, everyone loves Basquiat and wanna be the next Basquiat. But I don't think it's very cultish.
Okay. But yeah, so the type of acting, I fell in love with acting because of that. Just being able to witness real moments.
And appreciating your moments.
Yeah, and it's not about real doesn't mean like like kind of masturbatory emotions. It can be very quiet moments too, but knowing that it's something that's very vulnerable to that person. Yeah.
But like you are so established in your acting career back in New York. You wrote for like Hulu series. You were featured on HBO series.
Yeah.
But what made you decide to move back to Busan?
So after acting school, when I started auditioning a bit, nobody knew what to do with me. That was very clear because this was
just didn't know what to do with you.
Because this was also like before Fresh Off the Boat started, before the diversity talk was very much mainstream.
Wow, you're like a ammonite of Asian
Not
Asian
really.
actors. No, like it's like one of the few like in that time.
Yeah,
there weren't a lot.
There weren't a lot, and there were, but for me, like, if they don't even know, even for like traditionally beautiful, slim, feminine Asian actresses, their roles were so limited. Like, I mean, I'm not a great auditioner, so most of the acting jobs I got was always through the back door. Like, they would get to know me and give me the role, but I knew early on, there's no way they can understand what I can do, and I don't think they'll know what kind of roles that I could fit into. So that's when I started. I made my first short film, and then made that with some friends. And then around that time, I was very interested. There were some cool web series in Brooklyn popping up. One was called, I can't remember the title. Ingrid Youngerman was this queer filmmaker who, after Fourth, it was a web series about just her life. And it was not completely autobiographical, but we could tell it was. So it just dawned on me, okay, I'm going to make a series about me. So instead of writing my name in the correct pronunciation, correct spelling, I wrote like Haeyeon, H-E-Y. Haeyeon, the web series about an angry, whimsical Korean woman. So I think I learned how to act by making my work. So the training was it started a foundation, but I made my own work, and that's when some people started showing interest. Like, oh, so then some friends would get, like, cast me in their short films. So my measly success of the New York and LA scene was all through just me, like, oh hey, I'm here, I can do this. And then, yeah, what were we talking about?
Oh, why did you move here?
Oh, why did I come here? COVID happened, and in the middle of COVID, my mom reached out to me saying she had been taking care of my dad for like 12 years. He had a muscular dystrophy disease, similar to Lou Gehrig. So she was doing that, and she said, hey, I've hit a wall, I need help. So up until that time, I was kind of scared that she would ask because I didn't want to. But when she asked that, it made sense. Oh, okay, it's time for me to go back. So I came back to, I helped her take care of him about a year. And then he passed around that time, and I went back to New York. But it was weird. It wasn't my home anymore. And around the same time, so before that, like the years leading up to that, I had a couple of good years where I was, it was really cool, that experience. Like, oh, I made something. It got fun. The BKPI web series that like did a lot, because through that I got an agent, and so like I would get taken to like meetings, Netflix, and this and that, and it did have that feeling like, okay, if I just like ride this wave well and do my best, I can really like keep going. But also, I think that kind of juice in my destiny of success, I think maybe kind of stopped around that time too, because when I came back to New York and felt like, this doesn't feel like home anymore, those opportunities were every interview, every audition I would have, I didn't get. So I kind of like took that as information too. And the project that I had been working on around that time that I wanted to, I feel bad. I even had like producers who wanted to help me make it and pitch it around. I just didn't want to touch it anymore.
You just like kind of lost the drive?
Yeah. It was like, it was there. And I knew, like, even when I was busy taking care of my dad, there was always like, oh, I have my project, this big on top the cup that has my juicy, tea in it. But then when I came back, it was gone. So then I was kind of a few months in New York, I was kind of carrying this around, like putting spit in it and trying to like pour tap water in it, trying to still make it happen. But then I think that's why I didn't want to, just staying there for another year, like feeling it out. I gave it enough time, and no, I was done. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, also around that time, I also felt like, oh, whatever creative juice I want to, spill out and create, I could do it in a different form, maybe. Yeah.
It kind of speaks to me in a different way, because the reason why I want to stay in Busan is because of my specific creative project, Busan Comedy Club. And I mean, I could have just like leave and
You were gone to New York for a few months this year.
Yeah. But I also, I don't know. I had fun. I have really good friends in New York. I have my life. But I guess back here, we participated in the International Comedy Festival. And now we're like recruiting nice, good comics. And feels like it's moving somewhere. And I felt like, all right, this is where I should be. So although I miss New York, I don't miss New York so much. I just miss my boyfriend. That's it.
Yeah. And, you might have some of your New Yorker audiences watching this too. And I think if I hadn't spent those 15 years in New York, I would still feel this inkling of like, oh, but New York, I miss it. I miss this and that. I don't dislike New York, New York is the best place in the world.
It is. It is.
But also, my favorite people, my peers who were in New York then, they've all left too. So that made an impact. And yeah, I don't miss it. I miss the people. But it just felt like, that chapter is like done and I love it. So yeah, I do have to go back next year to figure out a green card issues, but I haven't felt this like need to go back yet.
I think that's one of the worst thing about New York. That like a big cohort of people come in and they leave. Your favorite people don't stay, they move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some part of me was like, I'm gonna be Carrie Bradshaw, live there forever. But I'm gonna die there, you know. I was thinking that.
What's your favorite like neighborhood or area that you feel the most like, this is my stomping ground in New York?
I don't think I have any. I used to live in Upper East Side, but that area is just quiet, posh, safe. But I don't think I know Brooklyn enough to know. Lower East Side, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lower East Side.
There's a lot of comedy stages there too.
A lot. Like I would go to like different open mics.
Yeah.
Like comedy mics, variety mics. I just miss those stages where you can just fail.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Failing, I think, is the most exciting part about making art, any type of art. Yeah. And I think that's where the magic comes. And I think that's what... I think the Busan Comedy Club comedians, like, they're doing a great job right now. But when you invited me to join, if you guys were already kind of an established club, I might have been more hesitant. But right now, at this phase of my life, I'm, like, more interested. I think it's more fascinating to have comedians who are starting out and trying to, like, you know, that energy is really, I think, it's delicious.
It's the most beautiful part, just like watching comics grow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Also, like, I don't remember my best set. I remember the most miserable set. Like, there's like one set I would never forget. It was at I opened Halloween roast battle.
That's a hard one.
It was,
and roast battle.
And then because it's roast battle, all the audience members are comics, because they would just go there to support their friends and like watching them like roasting each other.
Yeah.
And because it was Halloween theme, everyone was dressed up as something, and I dressed up as Ali Wong.
Okay.
And then
with the pregnant belly or
yes,
without it?
With the pregnant belly.
Okay.
And it was the most miserable set ever in my life.
Did you know in the midst of the set that you were doing miserably?
I wanted to leave. 2 minutes, 30 seconds in, I am done. I want to get the fuck out.
Did that make you laugh? Did that make you sweat? Like, what's the process?
I just kept going. And there was a moment and like I gave up and I started saying random shit and I got laugh. I'm like, I fucked a lot of comics and people just like, fuck. and that comedy club, I took a pregnancy test one time.
Really? To find out if you were pregnant with another comedian's child? Or no?
Yes,
maybe.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So that got laughed. But like just the whole set, I would never. It was one of the miserable moments in my life. But I remember it. It's failure.
Looking back, you can kind of look at it fondly. Lately, do you feel like maybe not that badly, but have you felt like, this is not going well? And when that happens, are you able to enjoy it these days?
I think this is the reason why I'm trying to rap. Because I want to feel something. I want to feel like I'm trying something new. I want to learn. But I think when it comes to comedy, I feel like I have more to lose than before. That I tend to be safer.
I see.
But when it comes to rapping, I'm like, I don't need to.
So even if it is on the same comedy stage, it gives you more permission to like whatever, mess around.
And that could be funny. So I'm like,
I see. Yeah. I think I've been a fan of stand-up comedy since my beginning years of New York. Like I mean, at that time I was a huge fan of Louis C.K. and like listening to Mark Maron's podcast and getting to learn about even like Robin Williams. I didn't know that he was a stand-up comedian back then, so looking up his old sets and I was lucky enough like the jobs that I would get, it was always with like the very like extremely talented like comedians who were up and coming at that time. I got to like meet with Mitra Juhari and Patty Harris, and maybe they're like people a little more that came before you, but so I was always like, oh. But the thing is, there was a brief time that I was hitting up open mics at like the Grizzly Pear. Do you know there was a site called Buddha Comedy?
Yeah.
So they
Laughing Buddha.
Laughing Buddha. So I was really like into it one summer.
Did you almost go to the classes? Or did you just do...
I think I was like, oh, I should sign up for the class. But then around that time, I was like, my work was getting a little more known. And the comedians that I was like in the rooms working together with, they were so brilliant that I just felt like, oh, I can't do that.
Really?
I can't do that. Because for the Hulu series Shrill, A.D. Bryant, who was on SNL for a long time, she was the creator and the star of the show. So a lot of the writers in the room were stand-up comedians or SNL writers. So the thing about like success is, I think when I was like on my own, like making stuff and like I wanted to prove that, hey, I have a voice, I can do it. But then once I kind of started getting the recognition, like, hey, come and like do this with us, it was scary as hell. I'll be honest. It was, and I've like made it through, and I think slowly I learned, because I was like so confused. Why am I here? Like, these are like Sudie Green, Claire O'Kane, Rob Klein, like veteran SNL writers. Like, why do they have me here?
What do you mean? Like, you earned that.
But then I slowly learned, okay, my purpose, because there's no way I can be as quick as they are. And I slowly learned, okay, my purpose is kind of like, I envisioned myself as this like tukabi, this like frog under the water, and then whenever I would see something emotional kind of through line or something, that I would stick my tongue out and like, so I think I did a good job at kind of like quietly kind of commenting on things. 1 year I was on 2 seasons of that show. And I was proud of this one scene that I pitched, because the writer's room is all like people pitching ideas, and then eventually each writer gets like an episode. But it's such a collaborative process. So I do think that, I'm not sure how Korean drama writers' rooms are run, but I think it's less writers for K-dramas. But the collaboration that happens by having like more than 5, 6, 7 writers in a room, I think it's really fun. But it was for A.D. Bryant's character and this guy she was dating. But when they first start falling in love, they go on this like impromptu camping trip. And then I pitched an idea of, what if she has to like pee, but it's in the woods. It's dark, scary. So she asks him to go with him. But then like, oh, stand over there. But then as she's peeing, like he has to pee too. And then they pee at the same time. And they have this like moment.
Yeah.
So I was good at like coming up with little like pervy sweet moments. That's how I was.
You're pervy, but
I'm sweet and crass.
Yeah. You are.
So I gradually found a groove, but it was hard. And then I think a part of me was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this.
But what was your goal, like back in New York? And
Back
how
then,
did your goal
I wanted
change?
to like, I had a pilot written called Boogie on the Beeline, and make this show about this character who fails at committing suicide and how she builds her life back up.
Deep.
Yeah. Deep. So there was like, I want to tell this story, like talking about mental health in the Korean family, and Yeah. So that was the goal, and I wanted to act more, but I started writing only because I wanted to act. I never really wanted to be a writer. So it's fascinating how the world, the universe kind of, takes you on a different road. I thought, okay, if I write for a few years and prove to people that I can, because I would always like write roles for me. I thought that then I would start being a working actor, but that didn't quite happen.
It makes sense that you're doing stand up now because
Yeah.
the thing that I love the most about stand up is that you write and writer and the performer is the same. I mean, like there should be like ghostwriters for some big people, but it's essentially the ones who write are the ones who perform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And stand-up comedy, you don't always have to wait in line and audition and wait for somebody to give you that opportunity. You can hit up a mic. You can,
Yeah, but if you want to be on a bigger stage. But
to me, like the idea of a bigger stage doesn't matter much more anymore. Yeah.
But like, what was your goal back then?
Back then,
get
to
that
like
show out?
to make a show, because I was only making like short form like web series, so to make a half-hour series, and to be on bigger platforms, like HBO or Netflix. That was the goal, and then to be able to play like, even if it's supporting characters, like really grungy, real characters in other people's projects.
And now did the goal change?
Yeah, now. Yeah, I think there is a compromise that I made, thinking that by coming to Busan, and this isn't a diss to Busan, but it is me going from a bigger pool to coming to a smaller pool, right?
Yeah.
Smaller body of water. And now my goal and ambition is to be able to financially be more stable so that I can support my mother and myself, and try to find an audience on these small stages through my voice. Yeah. And through however way I end up like making more money, I want an element of mental health and caretaking to be a part of it.
I think that's
It's a big vision.
market.
So, yeah, you said that before, and especially in Busan. Yeah.
Especially just looking at Korean demography. It's like an aging society. Everyone has to have the burden of caretaking their older elderly. I think there's so much potential to it.
And I do have this, resource of like speaking English. So, because there are so many English teachers, even in Busan, I'm trying to figure out a way that I can stand out. Whether it's bringing in an element of acting or clowning for children. So yeah, since I've quit my radio job, I've been trying to figure that out. Yeah.
What do you think the radio job taught you?
Very valuable. It taught me, because before the radio job, even with my writing endeavors, it was very precious. It was like I would only write when I would feel inspired, because these deadlines were less strict, So, and even when I wanted to write something, I would put so much pressure on myself, like it has to be perfect. So I'm going to really okay, this for Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to I was very precious about it. And because of that, there was probably some perfectionism going on and a lot of procrastination. But radio job, it's every fucking day.
You just gotta...
So I would have to translate the scripts and prepare for it. But I learned, I don't have to be precious. Yeah. And I think I kind of developed that muscle a little bit. Just do it. You don't feel like it, doesn't matter, do it.
That's a huge asset for writers. Because a lot of people, writers always have to deal with deadlines.
And I think I had the privilege in New York of letting myself feel like, oh, I have to be in the right mood and the inspiration. Oh,
Just being the artist.
all universe.
Yeah,
I would sometimes like go in the middle of rain. I would walk outside my apartment, like kind of like not. I would want to be naked, but I can't do that on the street. But I would like stand right underneath the full moon and like, oh, give me.
Honestly, this is just you being Pisces. this is just a Pisces moment. It's just like, oh, I gotta hit, like my intuition gotta hit me.
Yeah.
And just put sage on it. And...
Okay, this is. You can edit this out if you want to, but in the beginning of COVID, when we were all stuck in there, I was really trying to like make routines for myself. Mm-hmm. Every day at 4 p.m., I had this big window in my apartment. The sun would hit the most fiercest at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So I would take my panties off and I would spread my legs open towards the window. I would, for about good 30 minutes, just let my vagina soak in the sun.
For what?
Just, I don't know, for inspiration. And COVID. A little solar, 소독, what do you call that? Little sanitizing, yeah.
Well, yeah, vaginas...
I did that for like 3 whole months.
I just realized that vaginas never get sunshine.
Exactly!
Oh my god, you're right.
When can the
pussies don't get sunshine?
Yeah, and like, enjoy it, girl. Girl, enjoy the sun. It's COVID times, but you can be free.
Yeah. You're right. I feel like my vagina for the past many decades didn't get enough sunshine.
Do you know that it's so random that early on our ancestors decided that the groin is the area to hide, so it's hidden with clothing, mm-hmm. but yet our eyes and face is open. Mm-hmm. What if at the time some motherfucker, like a pervert like me, thought, actually, everyone, the sacred part is the face. We should hide the face, just show the eyes a little bit, but let the groin. So imagine it being opposite. All the clothing up here and here, it's just open.
Actually, you're right, because like everyone has different genitalia.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I know that dick.
Exactly. So
that vagina looks familiar.
I always wanted to have a genitalia party with my friends.
Sorry.
아니 진짜로. This can be cut out, but I always thought, I love my friend Rich, Michaela, Dale. I don't know what their dicks and pussies look like. Actually, Michaela's I know because we were nude in a film together. But like, what if one day we just sit down together, you know, ajashi style, and everyone's wearing a skirt, no underwear, and we have tea because it's a little awkward to do this while eating food. And then we just go around the circle, like just showing our genitals. But I don't mean this in a like.
Why does it have to go in a circle though? It's like, hey, it's your turn.
That's true. That's true.
You can just do no pants party.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
So it's just sometimes it's arbitrary. Like, oh, we decided that this has to be hidden, but maybe if that wasn't the decision way back then.
I want to go to no pants party.
Oh my god.
Apparently, it's a thing.
Yeah.
In New York.
I mean, there's like nude parties.
I don't want to go. Like, I think no pants is sexier even.
So fully clothed up here.
Yeah. It's up here and just panties.
Yeah. And this doesn't mean that like, oh, everyone's like spread eagle. No.
Yeah, it's just like you know, party with a red cup, just without pants.
Also, I feel very strongly about, I think we have to appreciate diversity in genitals too. This talk about being an artist in New York is going somewhere else, but I don't know, because I think a lot of people have shame about how their genitals look like.
I think I have the shame too, even like because it's getting deep. Because I love my pussy hair, and when I shave it, I just see the whole my very bare self, and it scares me. I am not only scared of other people's pussy, but I'm also scared of mine.
I see.
I'm like,
it's
a lot.
You're more scared of it than looking at penises.
Yes. Oh, this is so wrong.
No, but I think, is it the fact that it's the kind of, because it's so private, to kind of the idea that because the vagina like goes inward.
Maybe
is it
you have to like really look.
Yeah.
Whereas dick is just like hanging around.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, I just like objectify men.
Yeah.
I'm like, alright, not a dick. But like, for vaginas, I want to like treat it with care.
Yeah.
Be nicer.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm like just putting too much pressure on myself.
And just societally, a lot of like shame going into
Right.
vaginas and pussies. But yeah, I once got made fun of by a friend that like my pubic hair is very like mangy. So instead of like having like a thick, very consistent hair, mine is like I don't have a lot. It's like a little 듬성. And like at that time, I was like, oh, that's very unsexy. Do I need to do something about it? But then like, oh, actually no, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't think there's like a model vagina to follow.
Yeah, because the pubic mound, it's different for everybody, and then some vaginas are longer, and but I love it. There's an Instagram account that like draws and sketches like all different shapes of
vaginas. Yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah, and penises too. I love a micro penis. Like there's a lot of shame that goes into having a smaller penis too. I'm like, oh no.
Have you ever seen and experienced micro penis?
Not a micro, but I am a fan of small penises.
How could you?
Because I can't really, when I had sex with men, like I could not take large penises. And is there something like a little scary about it?
Well, like, what if the penis is so small that like condoms fall out?
Then let's use other ways. Let's
Yes, that's the gender queer way.
Right. There's fingers. There's other ways to satisfy each other.
That's true. I'm just being mean.
But yeah, so we love New York, and maybe who knows? Maybe both of us, like 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, oh, I need to go back to New York ASAP.
I mean, do you feel like that?
Not for now. Yeah. I loved the Upper West Side because that's where I worked as a personal assistant for 10 years. My boss lived there. So I was like just running errands for him. But so yeah, around that area, I feel an affinity to. And the Lower East Side. East Village, my best friend Dale lived there. So Hi Dale. Dale introduced me to burlesque. He's a hairdresser who also is a burlesque performer, and he ran this show called the Pussy Scratching Fox Show. So I debuted my ancient toddler clown act there. Pussy Scratching Fox Show.
No, I saw a picture of Asian toddler. I saw the videos of it.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating.
Yeah. So that area also just to me felt like home.
But like my big question is, I understand that like we move on. We don't miss New York so much, but like all these like things that you've done, like the artistic urges, like how do you resolve it
these days?
Yeah.
I play a lot of pranks on my mom. Just because I'm not acting anymore in like other people's films and in Hollywood, whatever, I feel like I can act in my real life. Like working at this English radio station the last 2 years, that was an acting gig. Like for me, it was my first time kind of getting a taste of Korean corporate world. And it was like role play. It was the first year I was like, oh, this is so fun. Oh, my cubicle. Oh, they're talking shit about that person over there. I'm going to pretend like I'm not listening. I was in a movie of my own. So, I don't know. That's why I like to go out when my mom meets up with her sisters and brother, the Imos and Samchon. I like to go there and just act weird.
Why is your every tone is so pervy? It's like,
oh,
this coffee.
왜 그렇지?
This plant.
It is.
You kind of like this, right?
But even when I'm not, for me, it's like when I feel something full, maybe it's the breathiness of my voice.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a pervert. But for me, my perverseness, it's not a direct relation to like sex. To me, it feels more like a 5th grader boy who's curious.
A lot of excitement.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did think of my first short film was about a phone sex operator.
Okay. Were you the operator?
So at the time, I was teaching English, 전화영어, phone English from New York. So they had a phone set up in my room. It was for this company, YBM.
Wait. I think I've seen this scene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
showed it. It was in a reel. But so when I was just doing 10, 15-minute lessons with the students, the company had me lie that I was a white American. They didn't want the students to know that
You were
I was
Tracy.
Korean. I was Tracy at the time, and they said, "Oh, just name yourself Kelly."
Well, Tracy was not white enough?
Tracy wasn't white enough.
What? Tracy white as shit!
They wanted teacher Kelly. So, and then sometimes, often, Ajushi students would ask me like, "Oh, so what do you look like? What hair color?" So I was sometimes, okay, I'm brunette, have brown eyes. And then that got me to thinking like, oh, what if I set up a separate line?
Right.
I give them a different number like, hey, for a little more money, I'll have sex with you on the phone and you'll learn English. So that was my fantasy.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
a
so I
great
turned that
business.
into a short film. So like tits. TITS. It means breast. Teaching stuff like that. Oh yeah.
Anything that's like connected to English sells in Korea, which is crazy.
What I was curious about your English journey because did you live abroad when you were a kid?
I was in California for like a year when I was in middle school.
That's all? And then you were grown up when you...
And came back to Busan, finished middle school, high school, and the high school was 외고. It's like foreign language specialized at
Yeah.
high school.
So you were just linguistically, you're very advanced since you were young. Would you say that's true? Because you're bilingual.
I mean,
But considering, like, I think someone who actually hadn't lived in an English-speaking country for that long, I feel like your English is amazing.
thank you.
Yeah.
But I also lived in New York for like
Grad school.
5 years, grad school. I also lived in Norway and Austria 1 year respectively, and my main language was English, although they speak German and Norwegian.
See.
Um,
And that was in your 20s?
yes, in my university years.
Gotcha.
But thank you. I always
Yeah.
appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, and language is fun. I mean, I think I became, I just always, when I was even in high school studying English, I loved having like a really intense vocabulary log.
All right.
And I still do that. Like I was just asking Minji about certain, what do you call it? Newfangled terms. Korean slangs. Because I literally like sometimes like write them down. So when I was in New York, that's how I would learn. And now back being here after like 15, 16 years, I do sometimes feel like I've been like so out of the loop.
Yeah.
So I'm relearning through comedy new Korean words. But yeah, Koreans are obsessed with English.
I think learning new language through comedy is is even harder because it's so connected to the society.
Yeah.
So I think it's like the best way.
Yeah.
I also am a little like shy to say that I'm like linguistically advanced because after learning English, I'm like, other language, I don't care enough. I don't.
I really want to learn Japanese.
Yeah, Japanese sounds cool. French
Yeah.
sounds cool. Spanish sounds cool. But I'm like, I speak English. Whatever.
Okay.
I become an American. it's terrible.
English supremacists? No. I mean, yeah, because it's so hard. And like, we know that it's really hard to learn, even just like learning English was hard. So
Yeah.
I think it's a little daunting to start again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But Japanese suits you really well, actually. It kind of fits well with the aesthetics of Asian toddler.
Okay. And I was thinking, I wonder, like down the line, maybe I could somehow like get in the loop of the sex toy industry, the import between Japan and Korea.
Yeah. Just
Anything.
pervy.
Yeah. I'm very. I guess Okay. So another thing I wanted to talk about was who do you consider your mentors? Like in your whole life, like do you?
My whole life?
Yeah. Were there many? Do you like having mentors?
I think having mentors is very important. I have like one. I think mentors teach me that it is possible to achieve the certain things that I want to achieve. And one of the women that I took a lot of inspiration from. Her name is Rose. Shout out to Rose. And she is a kick-ass UN officer woman. And I met her when I was in Austria because I was interning. And after the internship, she traveled a lot. She worked in Sri Lanka, South Africa, Lesotho, like just so many different parts of the world. And she really inspired me and really allowed me to dream, which was so important. And when it comes to comedy, I had, in the very beginning of my comedy career, I was dating this person who is so good at comedy, and he taught me so much. So yeah, having mentors is important.
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of them.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that kept me in New York for so long, because I loved finding mentors. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm like seeking out. They'd just be everywhere. And sometimes in very unexpected people, like this guy named Gio Geller. Shout out to Gio. I think he's still alive. But he's a 할아버지. He's an old guy. I got to know a group of friends who are ex-Hasidic. So people who grew up in the Hasidic community in Brooklyn, but left the community because of like the limitations put on there. And so there was an organization that would help them kind of acclimate into like the secular world. And so they had this like meeting called Cholent every week. Just like a bunch of hippies and just people gather around eating food and talking. But Gio is one of the people I met there. He was, when I met him, he was like in his mid-70s, tall, lanky, gray beard, photography, always had his camera with him. Just a New York City figure. He lived in Chelsea his whole life. He has like 78 websites. And he's like always full of ideas.
Was he one of those people like hanging around at Washington Square Park?
Always, yeah, just going on photo
giving
walks.
advices to people. Yeah.
And most of his photos were even out of focus, but it didn't matter. Like that's a true artist. So like these wacky characters, I would actually like, oh, when I took a closer look at them, like, oh, I learned so much from them. Yeah. I dated a street photographer too. So do you find this? I find with myself, when I fall in love with somebody, I am very influenced by what they love.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Of course.
So, like, even right now, I'm not, like, musically. Somebody recently asked me, like, what kind of music do you like? And I said, I don't like any, but I don't dislike any either. But let's say that someone who I am madly in love with is into rock. I'll probably, like, study and go deep into rock. But and I used to think, like, oh, does that mean that I don't have myself? Like, no. I think that's my way of, like, getting curious and getting to know the world.
For me, it's usually the other way. When I'm interested in something, I end up falling for someone who's good at that specific field.
Ah, okay.
I use them.
Yeah.
Men are to be used.
Man, and this Russian acting teacher named Polina Klimovitskaya, she's also amazing. She escaped Moscow in the 70s, and she's very much in the experimental theater world. She talks like this, and she says, you have to release your anus. Release your anus. Like, when you're acting, you have to. So she was teaching at Yale and all these different studios in New York. Just a beautiful, amazing woman. Amazing set of breasts, too. But like in her acting class, we did animal workshops. We would learn about the spine structure of animals and very visceral acting. Like she didn't like realistic contemporary Hollywood acting. So through her is how I found the clown in me too. Because before playing around with clown, my acting was never like, if that kind of juicy moment I want to reach is over there, I never like got there. But by using clowning, even in a very realistic scene in between like two people right now, my way into that scene would be through clowning. It doesn't quite make sense, but what I mean is like, even in this scene where we're having coffee and two friends talking, if I'm disappointed in something, if you say something hurtful to me, instead of like thinking about that hurtful feeling, I would think that suddenly my butt has grown like 5 times larger. So kind of finding the same way that I would express this, but in my own subtext.
So that's how you...
So like basically when I was trying to do like very naturalistic acting, I wasn't good. But when I went, Paulina encouraged me to go big. Yeah. And actually that made me more brilliant. So that's when I also, around that time, I made my web series, and my good acting moments, it's always there's something clownish about it. Even if it's not noticeable for the audience, like inside of me, my process was clown.
Something more exaggerated?
Yeah. And she would say, hey, Yan, you are too big to go into small box. Go big. Yeah. but the type of teachers that I love, like the German guy Ragnar Friedunk, who taught Michael Chekhov, which is a school of acting study. It's very much about, instead of going from something inside in emotion to expressing it, psychological gesture is this thing that some people may be familiar with. Is it okay that it's getting so dark right now?
We're gonna wrap up soon.
Okay.
But I want to hear about this.
Just like using body as a way to, like, even if we're not feeling so happy, if we go like this, it affects our heart. So anyway, his whole process was like, there's no such thing as acting. So the mentors that I was attracted to, they were all crazy. But like, even a life lesson that I still think of when Paulina taught me is, acting is like walking on hot stones. You cannot stay in one stone for too long. You have to hip hop, hip hop. So I think it was her way of expressing, don't be indulgent. A true artist, just because you found that, right now, let's compare it to comedy. Like, okay, I have this set. It really works. Everybody laughs. That doesn't mean that you have to just stay there. You have to continuously go out of your comfort zone.
Keep evolving.
Yeah.
Keep innovating yourself.
Yeah, but it has to be like very visceral, like as if you're stepping on a hot stone, so you can't stay there anymore. Move to the next, and yeah.
I'm just really excited to work with you because I want to act too.
Yeah. So I'm interested in like coaching actors actually. So is this stuck here?
You got
Take
it.
this off. I'm interested in coaching people act, even if they're not actors.
이게 뭐야?
걸렸다. Yeah, you can just yank it off.
No, I can't do it right now.
I'll do it. Yeah. So I think you already are a great actress, and I think it'll be fun to work
We'll see about
together.
that. I'm also really bad at taking compliments. I think you are too.
No. Oh well.
No?
We should do that one day. Just have you sit somewhere.
Just sit down and like compliment you.
But you cannot nod. You can't say no. Just sit and receive. That might be a funny comedy exercise.
I think we should do that. We should totally do that after this. But before we are wrapping up the podcast, I always ask this question. Why should people know about you? Or do you want to be known?
Yeah, I think people would be happier to know me.
I agree.
Because I think my talent is seeing beauty in people. And some Koreans think when I compliment people, they think I'm lying. It's not that. I think I have a unique talent in really finding something that's genuinely beautiful and worthy of people. And I make people feel comfortable, I think. So, yeah, get to know me. Let's hang out.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I really do. Can you say something nice to me?
Yeah.
Before I go?
I I think your drive for whether it's your rap career or your comedy career, I love that you are bringing on people on that ride. Because you could very easily just do this by yourself, for yourself. But you decided to like pack things up on this big like SUV and you're bringing people on the ride. And I'm lucky enough to be on that ride, so that's very cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I love your drive. I think when I first met you even on the internet, I was like, oh, I want to get to know her. Yeah.
I also have something nice to say to you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're so, first of all, talented and humble at the same time. And I think you're not hesitant to share your talent to other people, which is very, very admiring. And I'm getting a lot of inspiration from you. So I want to
thank
thank
you. All right. Yeah, inspiration
Yes.
and perversion. Goes hand in hand.
Now I am scared. But well, thank you, Ahnu, for coming onto the pod.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And how do people find you?
I am on Instagram on Ahnu Nanuja. How is it spelled? AHNU.
시발하신 거야 지금?
AHNU. She'll tag me.
We'll tag her.
I'm on Instagram, and if you're curious to look up my content that I made back in the day, you can look for Heian the web series or BKPI on YouTube.
We'll also tag that on the channel.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Ahnu, and listeners. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.